Hey everybody, Marc here, TekStack. I want to talk a little bit about information architecture as we kind of head into this agentic AI kind of future. I'm really bullish on agentic AI transforming how users work with enterprise software and business applications. I don't think we're quite ready that yet, partly in combination of the agents that are coming out. But I think probably the bigger constraint right now is more fundamental, and it's that these AI models don't have the right information to consume to do the jobs that humans do. And a big part of the letdown, I think, is basically how organizations, and we sell the technology companies, so you would think that their adoption of best practices would be higher than that of the average company, which may be true, but still, hundreds of examples of companies that we've either worked with or kind of looked into that are using kind of old school approaches to managing something as simple as documents or managing chat or things like that. So I want to talk a little bit about the best practices that you can put in place today so that in 6 months or in a year, your agents will be in a perfect spot to consume that information securely. I'm going to show you how we do it with TekStack, our software, and I think this could be a best practice that any company can use, whether or not you're using TekStack or a competitive product like Salesforce or ConnectWise or whatever. I think inherently there's some stuff that we've done to make it easier, but you can use these models everywhere we go. It just may be a little extra manual. So let's start with some basic stuff. Here I've in TekStack, I got a customer record. The customer is, I've got all the information I need about it here. I go to the the documents store, and like most CRM platforms, TekStack has a document store right within the CRM record. Now we're using SharePoint, so what this is doing is connecting to SharePoint, and there's actually a SharePoint site. Now, we've kind of modified how that works for a few reasons, but the idea is that your users should be able to share customer-related documents in a customer site. And people that have access to that customer site should be able to access those documents. And people who don't have access to that customer site shouldn't access those documents. Now, normally that security model would be painful to implement. IT might have to be involved. We've kind of made it simple. And the reason why we built all this stuff is we have customers that are servicing, sensitive industries like, finance and healthcare, where they can get a support request that has some really sensitive information that only certain people should be able to see, things like that. But here we are, a SharePoint site built right into the CRM platform. This is out of the box Dynamics 365. However, what we've done is a little bit different. And I'll talk about that in a quick sec. But just take the SharePoint site. Normally the kind of letdown, I'll just show you here. You can go to the open location. And I'm going to open the location in SharePoint. You can use this clever little sync. Now this is already syncing, but you can use this clever little syncing capability here. What that does, it will allow your users to access all the files within this SharePoint library, access that information locally. So here you can see all the customers that I have share file access to, including, in this case, Skills TX. And this becomes really, really powerful. Where it becomes most powerful is as most people don't save anything to the cloud. They save things to local drives or maybe a local cloud drive, which is not helpful at all to the organization. What you want to be able to do is make it super easy. Like, for example, if I wanted to create a new document in Word, and I write some stuff, and I want to save that document, I want to make it easy to save that document. So I'm going to save as, and I have quick access to Skills TX right here. Or I can browse my Windows Explorer and find Skills TX there as well. So it becomes there's no excuse whatsoever to not saving files in their intended location, which is great for offboarding. It's great for collaboration. It's great for when users need to switch machines. The transition from machine to machine takes 2 seconds. So for all those reasons, this is a great hack. You can use a lot of this out of the box without TekStack, but we made it easier by setting up the SharePoint library in a way that it can be accessed very, very easily through other applications. The other thing we did is, if you notice on this account, we have a chat capability, or a chat button here. What happens is when an account reaches a certain point of maturity, we present that account as a Microsoft Teams channel, or a team, sorry, within the team org. And each, so we'll have multiple channels here. We'll create a channel for every opportunity or every project that is is created with that customer. Now, I guess the killer here is that, so we've got all the collaboration happening in the Skills TX channels. And we also have the files, the same files that are available here and here are available in Teams. So the files become ubiquitous, and we don't have this awkwardness where Teams, like, if you manually created a Teams channel for a customer, the files will be in that ether, which is different than the ether created manually in the CRM system. So what we did is marry those locations together. And we create those locations automatically when an account reaches a certain stage of maturity. So I'll give you an example. This is a customer account. So naturally you would see documents for the customer, but not all accounts in your system are going to be customers. So if I look at, for example, let's go to all prospects, all accounts prospect. And I see here, here I've got an account that's at engaged stage. So you're going to find that there is, when I go to documents, there's no active site found. So what we do is we actually turn on the SharePoint capabilities when an account reaches a certain stage. You can set that to prioritized, qualified, or pipeline as examples. So the idea is that you only create all the SharePoint kind of overhead at a stage when you're actually exchanging information with the account. And that's usually in the sales process when they're at a more mature stage. Pipeline would imply there's an open opportunity with them. Qualified means that they've taken a booked meeting and you want to start, collecting information on the account. So we would typically recommend you create the SharePoint site at qualified or pipeline as an example. The other thing we did is we incorporated a OneNote. So you can see on every account we have this take notes capability. And that means that for the life of this customer or this account, from sales all the way through, so this is a very first call that we had with this customer, and you can see every project has its own OneNote pages. So you can see in here we've loaded in all these different pages or sections, excuse me, based on various opportunities. And I've blocked out some of the information here. I just quickly deleted it, so I wouldn't accidentally share anything. But you can see that these sections and pages are created automatically for you. And so for the life of that customer, there's one place where people can collaborate on more detailed information, which beats the heck out of trying to add phone call notes or notes from meetings into a small CRM field, which will never be read again. This is a more natural, you can draw, you can cut and paste things in. And we create pages based on every appointment. So there's an upcoming demo, and we would create the page for that demo. So there's a place automatically for notes to go. And again, they live with the account forever. So like a really, I think personally, a thing I use all the time in our product, and things that you can do in any CRM, but we've kind of pre-developed all this, these are the kind of capabilities that I absolutely love. And you can see that I can get at that Teams site or the OneNote site from Teams as well. But I also have my trusty OneNote. And you can see all the accounts that I have access to here from various conversations over the years of customers. They're all right there. So really, really cool way to like collaborate and capture information about an account. Now I say all that stuff because as we approach agents, you're going to want to establish some of these these rules within your organization. You want to get your users off using map drives because that's useless for AI, and frankly not overly secure and really, really difficult to manage from a security standpoint with security groups. So you want to get on SharePoint, ideally not using OneDrive, personal OneDrives. Those aren't handy for collaboration whatsoever. So you definitely want to use SharePoint and all the capabilities, but not the personal OneDrives, because that doesn't really help anything. And you want to make it easy for users to want to use this stuff, right? So a lot of the kind of thinking that we put in place is really useful, because you're going to have all of your documents in one spot, and with a full security model. So you can get to the point where if you look at, let's say, I'm going to open up Copilot Studio. I'm just going to randomly open up an existing agent just so I don't have to go through all the steps to show you what I want to show you. But if you go to knowledge, what you can see is that you can actually add knowledge, which are SharePoint drives and locations, right? So when your agent is, let's say, consuming information, like one of the things I might want to say is like, I want you to consume all of the document locations for this customer when answering a question like, hey, can you give me a summary of what we've done with them this year? SharePoint will be a great place to do that. And so you'll be able to consume that information with the agent from SharePoint. And that's kind of where we want to get to. And if I went to just my normal Microsoft 365 Copilot, there's a bunch of, I have the desktop app right here. Could have just gone to that, I guess. So when it asks you, or when you prompt it, it's naturally going to give you information that it has access to based on your security group. So in my case, I am the founder of TekStack. I have a founder's drive that my business partner and I have access to that nobody else in the organization would have access to. So I would have, like, for example, a founder's channel right here, right? So this is where we have an exchange of information. If I go to another user in the organization, like Michael Stone here, this is a dummy user I use for demos, so not like a real person, but you can see that I don't actually have any channels other than some chat stuff. So you can set who has access to what information, and that security group will be respected when the agents, in this case Copilot, answers questions. So I think that security model is really important in that work mode here. You can see I work in web mode in Copilot. When you're in work mode, it will fish through all of the SharePoint file or locations that it has access to answer questions. How you set up that information architecture is really critical. Like, for example, we have an RFP creator agent, response agent, I should say. So what you want to be able to do is say, hey, this is the folder, or we have the perfect examples of past RFPs. And so you would set up your information architecture so that that agent would look into that folder. But let's say I'm broadly using Microsoft 365 Copilot, and I want to say, hey, can you create me a PowerPoint presentation based on the last time I pitched this product, And you want it to scour all the prospects that you would have access to as a seller, which could include 100 different opportunities that you've been working as an organization in the last year. You want that seller to have access to that. Well, that's easy to achieve with security groups, because you can add that seller into a security group called sales and make sales have access to all of these sites automatically, as an example. So that's a quick overview of information architecture. I showed you a few things here. How TekStack uses SharePoint, OneNote, and Teams through Graph API to kind of create the locations, make them all the same location. How you can use that little sync capability to bring files locally, which I think is really important, especially when you're trying to save down attachments from email or create new documents. You want to make that super easy for users to use kind of the corporately available SharePoint sites. How all that information is going to be consumed by agents in the future. So you kind of want to have all that stuff set up now. So I'll leave you with that. Thanks for your time.